blew up. And then I feel like over time, the narrative changed. And don't read my makeup. This is a speed beat. I feel like over time, the narrative changed when she realized that it actually wasn't that. Because I know Tamisha said that she doesn't watch a lot of of our show, which is fair. And Coco Montrese also said, she was like, well, I don't watch Sibling Rivalry. And then it's like, well, then how can you assume that we're dragging anyone on our show?
Jason, can I ask you what your tweet was? The one that I misquoted. Can you please tell me what that was?
So the only thing that I tweeted related to any of this was that I felt that people shouldn't be gaslighting Tamisha for speaking about her feelings on what Monet had to say about her. Now, what I said in that is that Monet uses her platform to talk shit about other people. Now, that didn't say that she hasn't uplifted Black people ever, none of that kind of thing. But I'm sitting at home chilling, and I'm sitting at home chilling, and somebody says, oh, that beauty queen said something about you on her live. I'm like, for what? Why? And I go to your page. I'm not following you, but I don't have you blocked. I went to our messages. I don't have a message from you anywhere.
Well, this was also right after your season. I asked Cracker to talk to you. Cracker
the messages don't disappear.
She told me to talk to you. I sent you a message asking you about. It wasn't even on Instagram. It was on Facebook. It was on Facebook. Okay, I'll look. Now, the one thing I can say is that I usually don't like for people to ask me to be in Black Girl Magic because a lot of people don't realize that everyone, especially when it became digital drag, everyone in the country has been asking me to do Black Girl Magic. I work very hard to choose, and there's a lot that goes into it. So a lot of times I don't respond when people ask me to go do Black Girl Magic. That's not shade to anybody. It's just for my own peace. I like to make my own decisions with it. Sorry. Oh, no. It wasn't about, I wasn't asking about being a part of your Black Girl Magic. I was asking about starting one in New York City. With your I was looking for your blessing to start one in New York City.
And I've always given girls, you can look at a million interviews where I say, I want other girls to start their own Black Girl Magic. I've sent t-shirts to girls when they start their own Black Girl Magic. I don't know where any of this is coming from. This whole thing, Tamisha and Bob, all of that. My name got
let me say real quick, if I can jump in.
What?
If I can jump in, I think that what Keisha was referring to was that the tweet said that, or implied, that Monet makes her living tearing down Black queens, which seems to diminish her professional experience to tearing down Black queens. It seems to not offer a lot of nuance as to what Monet does, and not about Monet lifting up Black queens, and not Monet saying positive things, not Monet on the show telling everyone to go buy Tamisha Iman's product, telling people to go to your page, support your ventures, telling people to go to Black Girl.
And see, the thing is, I think Monet and you, Bob, at times pick and choose how woke you want to be, when you see racism in situations, when you don't, when you lean to the left or to the right. And that inconsistency is what has a lot of people side-eyeing.
And when you say pick and choose, how what does that mean? Like, what do you mean? Like,
there was no nuance there.
Well, what is a situation where I've chosen not to be quote woke?
I'll give you an example. There's been times where, when I first on the show spoke up against Aquaria, you had my back. You said the Vixen is right. Changed my mind. But then there was other times on Twitter when I talked about how being a part of the Drag Race franchise made me feel like a slave, and that you had a big issue with, and you were like, well, wait a minute, but that was my experience to discuss, not for you to negate. I could go on and on and on about times with Monet where I've been in meet and greets with her, and she took her time to compliment every blue-eyed person that walked in, or I love your blue eyes, or I love your red hair, and paid dust to every Black person, other person of color that came up to the meet and greet. I've been in interviews with Monet in other countries where they asked us about the racism that we experienced in America, and she has flat out said that she didn't experience racism growing up in Brooklyn, which maybe that's the truth, but it sounds tainted to me. So that's the inconsistency that I'm talking about.
Let me talk on that. I'm really intrigued to see you cite those sources, because in my experience, Monet has never said anything about not experiencing racism.
We're not talking about your experience. We're talking about mine.
I know what I'm saying. I have a lot more experience with Monet than you do.
Well, the ones that I have are tainted.
So that's what I'm saying. If you could cite your source where Monet said she does not experience racism, because I think you'd be.
There was an interview in Toronto. I was sitting with her and Miss Cracker. I'm
I've
sure
had
somebody can pull it up.
But I'm not done yet either, Keisha. I got one thing I want to say too, Keisha.
I got saying that she doesn't experience racism, that being her experience. Why is that invalid? But your experience of feeling like a slave on the show is valid.
I didn't say that her experience wasn't valid. I just said it sounds tainted to me because I can't imagine a Black person growing up in Brooklyn and not noticing any sources of racism. That sounds wild to me.
But you've never been a Black person growing up in Brooklyn, so it's not experience growth experience. And another thing,
I also didn't stop her in the interview and say, no, you're wrong. This didn't happen, yada yada yada, which is similar to what you did to me on Twitter when I spoke about feeling like a slave in the Drag Race franchise.
So here, this is the difference. What happened was when you spoke to Eureka on the show, what I said was, oh wow, what I did was I remember I posted a thing that said, the Vixen was right about everything, prove me wrong. That's what I remember the post. And
that was after Aquaria, not Eureka.
Got it. Okay. And then when I ended up saying the thing about you saying you felt like a slave on RuPaul's Drag Race, if I can recall, I'm sure you probably have a better recollection of it than I do. If I don't agree with you, if I don't agree with your expression, that doesn't mean that I'm not woke because I don't express my Blackness in the way that you express yours. So it's not about choosing when to be woke. It sounds like choosing when I want to support you, and you turn that into a way of me saying I wasn't woke in that moment because I didn't express or agree with a particular stance that you chose. I am firm in my expression of Blackness.
Agreeing with me isn't what makes you woke or not, but I think allowing other Black people to voice their needs and their opinions on things without stepping in service of
you mean opinions like Monet saying she hasn't experienced Black racism
and negating it. I think in Tamisha's case, you know, she has her feelings. When you create a reaction podcast, whatever you want to do, and you have opinions about everybody, I think you should absolutely expect for some of those people to have a reaction. And I think you can take what they say back without having to shoot them down or gaslight, because that's fair game. You opened up the door for Tamisha to have her opinions, and she should. And we should allow her to vent that without all of this drama and hoopla and your fans coming for her. I can't even speak up for her without getting extra attacked. I'll let you in on something. This weekend, I was getting my life, sucking dick at the beach and having a good ass time. So when I look at my Twitter and I see that you've like commented and got everybody like coming for me, I muted that shit and went back to sucking dick and enjoying my life, because that is what I do.
Well, I'm intrigued that you were saying that the insinuation what you said was like, I just made a tweet out of the blue referencing you, and when instead what happened was you were like, I just find it really funny about Black Queer Town Hall. I just think it's funny. So my response was, what's funny?
And we talked about this in text already. The fan that